Hey y'all. Okay, so I think this is Thursday's lesson. So happy Thursday, good morning. For those of you that are watching this first hour, this is your last day in class without me. So I worked your homework, on my own, so I wouldn't have to waste your time with you working the problems out. It was super hard, like real hard. So if you struggled with that, it's okay. Don't freak out because honestly, I did too. But I do have the problems worked out, so I'm going to show that to y'all so that you can check your homework. Okay, so this is, let me zoom out. Too close. All right, this is 12A and B. Okay, the 12A was not too bad. Okay, the first thing you have to do is add 12, get your box. To get your box, you do B divided by 2. All of that, pretty easy. Plug in your 4s. Take the square root of the first, the square root of the last. You get your minus sign there. This over here equals 16. Okay, to get rid of the square, take the square root. That's a perfect square, so it just gives you plus or minus 4. To get rid of the minus 2, we add 2. And so this is where we've been stopping. 2 plus or minus 4. So I went ahead and highlighted that. But when something's good like this and both of them are perfect, go ahead and split them up and do your plus and do your minus, and then you can get 2 solutions. So you know for sure that's going to cross the x-axis at positive 6 and negative 2. So like I said, that one wasn't too bad. Hopefully this is one that you were able to do no biggie. Now, but B was difficult only because it had this really ugly fraction, and I don't have my calculator here, so I had to do all that math by hand. It's possible, it just was not easy. So first thing you had to do was divide by 2. Hopefully you got that step down. And then we got a fraction here and a fraction there. So that's what made this challenging. So you did end up getting pretty answers. So if anybody got those answers on their own, positive 3 and negative 1/2, like bravo, proud of you. But I will probably never give you a problem that is this hard on a test. So that's B. C, easy. You definitely going to have one like C, so this problem's not too bad. You add the 2, that gives you the spot for the box. Do your B divided by 2, 9, and then get rid of the square by taking the square root. That's 11. It's prime, you can't simplify, and then you subtract 3, and so this is your answer. So A and B are like good examples of problems I would actually give you. I'm sorry, A and C. B is a little bit too ugly. Okay, then we have D. Holy crap, that one was crazy. So you start out by dividing by 3. This one starts out fine. You subtract the 2/3. You get 9/4, which that's fine too. That's okay to have a fraction there. Again, I didn't have my graphing calculator or a calculator with me, and I'm too lazy to download an app. You should download an app so that you can do the fractions. I just did it by hand to get that fraction there. Okay. Which I guess you could have given me a decimal and it would have been okay because that's a 12th, so I think it would end evenly. I don't know. Just leave it as a fraction. Then you take the square root of both sides, just like always. You cannot leave 12 in the denominator, so I multiplied by the square root of 12, top and bottom. That gave me 228 under the radical, which 4 is in that, and it's perfect. So you had to split that up. The square root of 4 is 2, and then 57 stays in the radical. Come down here, subtract the 3/2. And so this is your answer. 2 and 12 are both outside of the house, and they can be simplified. 2 goes into 2 one time, so I just dropped that and just left it as the square root of 57, and 6 on the bottom. So again, that's a pretty hard problem. E, E was not too bad, but it had an imaginary number. So make sure you got your imaginary at the end. You subtract 5, then it creates the box there for you. You bring down your x, you bring down your negative half, and then over here you add them up to get negative 19/4. And then take the square root of both sides. Negative 19 is not a perfect square, so I left it in the house for is. So I took that out and gave it a 2, and you can see I took the I out because of the negative. Then you add the 1/2, and so that one was really not too bad. F, I mean, if you got F, like, you're awesome. Because this one was super challenging. I'm not even going to go over it because I would never give you a problem that hard. But that is the correct answer. If you got that, you're an all-star. Negative 1/5 plus or minus I squared to 14 all over 5. Okay, so why would I teach you something that's so hard? It's part of our curriculum. It's part of the things that I'm supposed to teach you for Algebra 2. There is a possibility that you'll have something on the ACT that refers to completing the square, and more than likely, if it does refer to that as completing the square, they're just going to want to know what you would put in that box, in that spot, if you're going to complete the square to make a perfect square trinomial. So what you would need to do is know that this is the formula, b divided by 2 squared. And then just do the math, and that's going to be able to give you the answer of what you would use to complete the square. Now, today's lesson and what I'm going to teach you today would be what you're going to use on the ACT. I would not use this method for solving because it is challenging. What I would use is what I'm going to teach you today, which is called the quadratic equation. So I'm always in class when I teach this lesson, so I'm totally bummed that I'm not with you because I'm about to sing you a song. So do not make this into a TikTok video. Don't make me TikTok famous or not famous or an embarrassment. You hear me? Okay. So the quadratic formulas lesson starts on page 141. Okay? Page 141, and you may have done this in your Algebra 1 class, depending on how far your Algebra 1 teacher got. I don't know if I taught any of you Algebra 1, but I don't think I got this far with any of my kiddos. Definitely, if you're a sophomore and you took it last year with the coronavirus, you totally didn't do it. So, may or may not know this, and that's okay. This is the quadratic formula. And it is absolutely something that you need to remember. You need to remember that and memorize that, because it is going to be your saving grace when it comes to the ACT. You are going to have problems like this, and probably multiple. So first thing that you have to do is make sure your quadratic equation is in standard form. So ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So make sure it equals 0. Once it does, then you can just identify the parts, plug it into your formula, and do the math. Okay, so the way that my Algebra 2 teacher taught it to me 15 years ago, or how many ever years ago, God, maybe almost 20 now, was by singing the song. And she made us memorize and stand in front of class and sing the song in front of our peers. So I'm not going to make you do that. You're welcome. But you do need to memorize this song. So the song goes... To Pop Goes the Weasel. Do you know the song? Pop Goes the Weasel. You know that song? Okay, well, it says, the quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. I want you to sing this with me in your head. I know that you're not going to sing this out loud, but if you do, I'm very proud of you. Again, all together, the quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, just to prove to y'all that I'm not completely crazy, here's a YouTube video. Ready?
The quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
It's going to do it again, I think. Maybe. Nope. That's it. But like, there's a bunch of them. So I am definitely not the only math teacher that sings. Like this one is, he has a guitar, so he's way cooler than me.
Does more than catch errors.
I mean, I don't know if this is going to work. My internet apparently sucks.
With Grammarly, you can find really good, perfect words that make you right.
Alright, let's watch this one just for a second.
The first thing about the quadratic formula is what we're actually doing. The first part is when we have a quadratic function, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0.
Equals 0.
Quadratic function set equal to 0. We're using the quadratic function of negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a to find where the function crosses the x-axis or when the function is equal to 0. Okay? So there's a tune that pretty much everyone knows by One Direction that we will
Is
use
One Direction still cool?
for
I don't even know.
to memorize this formula.
This is from 2012, so I'm guessing not. Okay, we're not going to take the time to listen to all that. If you're interested, go for it. Check that out. Alright, we're going to go right into our lesson now. So, there is a formula. It is something that you need to memorize. We are not going to derive it, okay? You don't need to derive it. It doesn't matter where it came from. You just need to memorize it. That's what you need to know. Okay, so go to page 142 so I can help you figure out how to actually do this. So, remember the first thing I told you is that it needs to be in standard form. ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Which, if you look at this example below, you'll see that it is. So the first thing that I want you to do every time, when I look at your scratch work, I want to see this. When you do your homework, I want to see this, okay? I want you to identify your A, B, and C. Now, I know that may seem like childish, but I want to see it, okay? A is 2, B is -5, and C is 3. Okay, so you identify that for me. Then I want you to write out the formula. The quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So the radical covers all of that, and it's all being divided by 2a. That's very important. Then you're going to plug in. So we want the opposite of b. Well, b is -5. The opposite of that is +5. Plus or minus the square root of -5 squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a, which is 2. So you're literally just plugging in, you guys. That's it. You're just plugging in the information. Then you're going to do the math. You are going to plug in what's underneath the radical first, not including the radical, only what is underneath the radical. So -5 squared is +25. And I, again, don't have my graphing calculator, so this is hard for me to do. So I'm going to have to kind of do this in parts. Where is my calculator? Okay, there it is. All right, so I'm going to start with this over here. I've got 4 negative times 2 times 3. Okay, so this part here is negative 24. Negative 5 squared is negative 5 times negative 5, which is positive 25. So that's going to be 25 minus 24, which is 1. Okay, so this is 5 plus or minus the square root of 1 all over 4, because 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, now, if this is a perfect square, which this one is, simplify and keep going. If this was like a prime number, like number 7 or 11 or something, then you would just leave this just like this, and that would be it. Okay, but this is not. This is a perfect square. So the square root of 1 is just 1. So 5 plus or minus 1 divided by 4. Now, this is all still good numbers, so I can keep going. I'm going to split it up. I'm going to have 5 plus 1 divided by 4. And I'm going to have 5 minus 1 divided by 4. So sometimes we can keep going, sometimes we can't. This one we can. 5 plus 1 is 6 divided by 4, which simplifies to be 3 halves. I'm sorry, 3 halves. So that's one of the answers. And then this one simplifies to be 4 over 4, which is 1. So my solution is x equals 3 halves and x equals 1. And remember, guys, what you're doing is you're finding where that parabola is going to cross the x-axis. So this could be 1/2, this could be 1, this could be 3 halves. Okay, so it's going to cross at 1 and it's going to cross at 3 halves. Okay, because that's 1 1/2. So those are your 2 places that it's going to cross the x-axis. Those are your solutions. Your parabola probably looks something like this. I mean, that's just a guess. I don't know, something like that. Okay, so that's what we're doing. This method always works. That's why they do it at the end, because they don't want you to learn this at the beginning of the unit, because then you'll never learn how to factor. You'll never learn how to solve by factoring, completing the square, all of those other things that I've been teaching you, because this method literally will always work for every single quadratic. So that's why I'm telling you, you need to memorize this for the ACT, because when you take that ACT, you need to know this so that you can answer the questions. Okay, let's look at number 6. Okay, there's another equation there for us. The first thing that I want you to do every single time is give me my A, my B, and my C. A, in this case, if there's not a number there, it's just 1. B is -6. C is 7. Okay, so the quadratic formula is -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. I mean, if teaching doesn't work out for me, I'm definitely going to become a singer, because I'm really good. So make sure you turn the volume up next time so you really can hear it good, okay? All right, so the opposite of b, this is -6, so the opposite of that would be +6 plus or minus the square root of -6 squared. You'll see I always put that in parentheses, because when you type that in a calculator, if you don't type in -6 in parentheses, your calculator is going to mess that up. Okay, so put it in parentheses, -6 squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times A. Okay? Now, 6 plus or minus the square root. Now, again, I'm going to do this in parts because I don't have my fancy calculator. So negative 6 squared is 36. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times 7 is negative 28. 4 times 7, 28? Yeah. Okay, so then you're going to subtract. 36 minus 28, I believe, is 8. But I'm going to double check because I don't want to mess my problem up. 36 minus 28 is 8. So that's what's underneath the radical divided by 2. Okay? 8 is not a perfect square, but it is able to be simplified. We can use 4 times 2. The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 2 stays in the radical. So we've got 6 plus or minus 2 square roots of 2 all over 2. Now, here's the deal. You can never simplify in the house. Don't touch it. You cannot mess with that. But if everything on the outside of the house can be simplified, then you can simplify. 2 will go into 6 3 times, 2 will go into 2 1 time, and 2 will go into 2 1 time. So my simplified answer is going to be 3 plus or minus the square root of 2. That's your answer. And you leave it like that. There's no point of me putting 3 plus the square root of 2, 3 minus the square root of 2. I'm just saying the same thing. Okay, the reason we stopped here is because I can't get like some solid numbers versus up here I kept going because I can get good numbers. Does that make sense? Do you understand the difference? Okay, so this is your lesson on quadratic formula. If you didn't get enough from me, there's like literally 70,000 videos on YouTube on how to use the quadratic formula. You can look up as many as you'd like. Check those out. You are going to be practicing, and I'm going to look at the key to make sure I don't give you some crazy problems again. But just glancing at that, I do see like on E and F, do you see that it's not equal to 0? The first thing you've got to do is make sure it's equal to 0. And if it's not, you need to make it equal to 0. So for this one, I would need to subtract 7x and put it in the right spot. And on this one, I would need to add 6 and again, put it in the right spot. Okay, so the problems that I want you to work on for homework . Well, just so you know, they're all pretty ugly, but that's okay. You can still do the work, do the problems. You're just going to leave them as the plus or minus statements. There's not going to be any that are like x equals 2 and x equals 4. There won't be any like that, but you are, you're still going to be able to get answers. You just need to simplify. Okay, so what I want you to do is just do the first 4. A, B, C, and D. Okay, and I'm going to give you the answers just because I want you to know if you're doing this correctly. If all you give me back is the answers, I'm not giving you any points. Like nothing. I'll give you a 0. Okay, what I want to see is I want to see you working these out using the quadratic formula. Okay, so every time, write out A, B, and C. Write out the quadratic formula. Oh my God, 4 times is not going to kill you. Write it out and then substitute in. So your work should look just like our notes. That's what I want to see for 4 problems. Okay, here are the answers. Press pause, screenshot, whatever you need to do so that you'll know whether or not you are doing this correctly. Because again, if all you give back to me is the answers, I'm not giving you credit. You've got to show your work. Okay, guys, tomorrow is Friday, and you'll have a Delta Math practice to work on Friday, so I won't be recording a video. It just will be some practice problems, and then I will be back at school on Monday. Yay! Everyone better be so excited to see me. Even if you are not, fake it and make me feel like I'm a superstar. I'm depending on you guys for a welcome home party because I have missed you guys terribly and cannot wait to be back. And also, don't forget to bring your cans for your bonus. Okay, bye y'all.